Hello and welcome. My name is Amanda Patterson Parton, and I am joined by my colleague and friend, Codi Renee Blackmon. Today, we are going to talk to you specifically about our experiences as Black women PhDs in rhetoric and writing studies. We're going to share some of our narratives and our own experiences, and then advocate for specific resources that we think have been missing in our own experiences that could be beneficial to other Black women PhDs. So many resources that we had to initiate and search for that really should have been provided at the beginning. And so through the use of the research, through the use of support of our mentors, we put together this presentation, and I hope that you enjoy. As Black women, doctoral students in rhetoric, writing, and technical communication, our shared experiences are shaped by intersecting challenges that diverge from conventional academic advice. A lot of this outdated counsel urges us to work twice as hard, perpetuating the myth of the strong Black woman and imposing excessive academic, emotional, and mental labor. We absolutely, irrefutably reject this advice. We align with Afrofeminism, which acknowledges the unique struggles faced by women of color and advocate for equity and justice through intersectionality. Drawing from Black feminist thought and epistemology, we prioritize personal ways of knowing, narrative, and emotional validation in our academic pursuits. We echo scholars who emphasize the underrepresented voices and contributions of Black women, recognizing the need for a supportive community to navigate academia's systemic barriers. Culturally relevant mentorship is essential for our professionalization, yet underrepresentation in academia hinders its availability. By fostering open dialogues and sharing experiences with Black women faculty, we can cultivate a supportive network to overcome obstacles and foster inclusivity in our academic journey. Due to the limited number of Black women in our field, this has to be an interinstitutional effort to create a network of support for Black women PhD students. While researchers in our field often employ feminist, anti-racist, and indigenous methodologies to promote equity and diversity, we find that our needs as Black women scholars are unique in academia, including feelings of isolation and a lack of support from mentors of different races. To address this, we require Black mentors and a supportive community that spans generations, cultures, and genders. While we love our mentors that we have, there is something that is unique and unparalleled about having mentors that identify with your unique struggles as your gender identity or your racial identity. So this project aims to establish dedicated spaces where Black women in rhetoric and writing can share their experiences and hopefully empowering them in our field and to foster connections that might be lacking in their own institutions. I have been extremely fortunate to be a part of a program with amazing supportive faculty who have walked beside me every step of my PhD program and supported all of my endeavors. My research have been there for me emotionally, mentally, and supported me in so many ways. We are fortunate to be part of a faculty community that acknowledges the work of social justice and is invested in ensuring equitable educational opportunities for all students, including the Black women PhD students. However, even well-intentioned allyship can be damaging at times when it doesn't really consider the experience of a person of color in ways that it just can't. Because when you don't experience something or you don't live something, it is very difficult to anticipate how efforts to be an ally can actually affect students in real time. So the very attempt to make me feel included and heard by some of the best meaning allies in our program are sometimes the very things that are tiring and traumatizing. There have been moments in class where there's a very performative nature about interacting in a predominantly white space as a person of color. There is something about being under a white gaze that takes away from the authenticity of being who you are. And particularly when we're discussing in class pieces that are really deeply interrogating what it means to be a Black person in academia. And you're in a position where you are embodying the very topic of conversation. And the topic of conversation is about the trauma that you experience, right? There have been times in class where I am drained, I am exhausted, I am navigating a world full of social justice strife. And then I walk into a classroom where I'm the only person of color, and we're talking about the challenges that people of color in this field face. And so I am put in a position where now I have to discuss the very thing that hurts me in front of a room full of peers and colleagues who don't understand. And I have to listen to the opinions of people who don't understand it from a very visceral and embodied experience. And so it's only in spaces with other Black women scholars where I can let that guard down, where I can share what it's really like and what it really feels like to be sort of in this precarious position, and who really understands what it means for me to be in a space where it feels like it's challenge after challenge, where just when you feel like you've broken through the glass ceiling, there's something else, there's another layer, there's another component of oppression. And so in this program, while it has been so fruitful and so giving, there's also been this sense of, I feel my Blackness to a degree that I have never felt before in this rhetoric and writing program. I feel Blacker as a person in rhetoric and writing and composition studies than I do in my everyday life in society, because this becomes such an issue that I didn't realize would become a topic of conversation, would be so imbued in my research, would become sort of a driving force of how I identify and make room for myself in the field. And these conversations are difficult to have in a room full of people who cannot relate, which is why it is so important for us as Black women PhDs to have these networks of support where we can seek refuge.
According to Lyndall C. Tillman, education has power for social mobility, not just for Black women, but for the Black community as a whole. Yet, with the declining value of tenure and the departure of underrepresented academics during the Big Quit, or Great Designation as Dolezal calls it, new and emerging Black scholars and women of color face a precarious position. While institutions recruit Black female scholars in pursuit of diversity, equity, and inclusion, are these intersectional populations being supported by the departments and fields when they get there? Most graduate students of color attending predominantly white institutions focus on promoting assimilation into a predominantly white environment rather than promoting authentic cultural pluralism. That's according to Davidson and Foster Johnson. I point to the university system's historical foundations of white male privilege, and I seek to deconstruct that domination. But DEI is under attack as well. Not only are we underrepresented and undersupported, the very scholarship that we are pursuing is under fire, politically and legislatively. I got a notification about a Black professor leaving my previous institution, and his research was specifically race-related, as outlined in his public resignation letter. Again, another Black scholar who I look up to and hope to contribute in their footsteps was leaving academia. It's hard not to get concerned and think, am I preparing myself for something I don't even want to be in the first place? Am I doing all this work only to end up in a racist world where I have no choice but to leave? Academia is challenging because the institution asks Black students and faculty to be their whole selves in a space that was not designed for most of us. Acknowledging our racial identity is crucial to Black women's empowerment as proactive and activist scholars. But just as crucial are other identities, such as being a woman, which points to intersectionality, addressing multiple forms of oppression. Cultivating close ties with other Black women of scholars of color is essential. In the field of composition, rhetoric, writing, and technical and professional communication, we Black scholars face challenges in networking with other Black scholars due to geographical dispersion across various campuses. Attending national or regional conferences can overcome these limitations, but not everyone has the resources to do so. Community outreach and social justice work are crucial for Black female scholars, who often turn to online platforms for support when they can't find the support they need in person. The lack of support for Black women in academia has led to microaggressions, harassment, abuse, unequitable performance evaluations, and academic trauma. People of color are more likely to use social media for seeking help, community, and connection, which is not present in their white-dominant, culturally uninformed social environments. And I'll be sharing some of those resources later. Now I'll be sharing some of those resources. I was at my institution a couple of years before I learned from another Black woman that there was a Black faculty organization on campus and that doctoral students were welcome to attend. So make sure to check your institution for those. The Black Caucus is another resource. Founded in 1970, it aims to support English language arts professionals of African descent who are members of NCTE and 4Cs and are dedicated to the success of Black students and scholars. The FWCA, Faculty Women of Color in the Academy, serves as a platform for Black female scholars to connect and share reviews of their real-life experiences in universities, naming academic institutions, administrators, faculty, and even peers they have had conflicts with and how they navigated them. The Coalition of Feminist Scholars in the History of Rhetoric and Composition offers an online mentoring program to provide personalized guidance and support for coalition members. So you can request a Black mentor, a Black woman mentor. They also have the Fellowship Prize program, which is a non-hierarchical mentor program that provides a space for small groups of coalition members. So this could be small groups of Black women scholars, focusing on fostering community building, collaboration on research, teaching, and social justice projects, and just disrupting traditional models of leadership. Cohort Sisters is a community and resource platform for Black women and non-binary individuals pursuing doctoral degrees. It offers a podcast, a community platform, and a mobile app. Check them out. In order to create equitable futures for the future cohorts of Black women PhDs as part of this project, we also hope to generate ideas towards creating digital spaces where Black women in our field can prepare, connect, and share resources and strength to thrive in academia. We, as Black women doctoral students, should be taught and given access to these kinds of spaces upon admittance to a doctoral program. We shouldn't have to struggle and then go out and find these resources ourselves in the midst of crisis. Mentorship is also crucial for the success and well-being of minority scholars in academia, particularly African American women faculty members at PWIs. Building and maintaining strong mentoring relationships is essential for challenging the notion that Black women scholars must do more than their white male counterparts. Additional research is needed to understand how students of color and those who self-identify as LGBTQA+, disabled, and/or multiply marginalized engage in practices of professional identity and negotiation, particularly in campus workplace cultures that promote white dominant culture. Recognizing and addressing the distinct experiences of Black women in PWIs is vital for our growth and success, as well as advancing principles of justice and equity within our field. And here is a list of our references that were used in the creation of this presentation. We thank you for attending our session.